Welcome to the Happy Hippie Podcast, your weekly dose of holistic wellness and positive energy. I'm your host, Amanda, and I'm here to guide you on your journey to a happier, more fulfilled life. As a certified yoga teacher, personal trainer, nutrition coach, and women's wellness specialist, I'm basically passionate about helping you transform your life, mind, body, and soul. So whether you're interested in fitness, nutrition, wellness, or just seeking more joy in your daily routine, you are in the right place. Each week we'll explore practical tips, inspiring conversations, and even share new ways to embrace happiness in every aspect of your life. So we'll dive into healthy habits, mindful practices, and simple strategies that can create lasting change in your life. So get comfortable, take a deep breath, and let's begin this journey together. This is the Happy Hippie Podcast, where wellness meets happiness and transformation begins with you. So welcome to episode 54 of the podcast. We are diving into something that kind of fits with the theme of the month, which is spring cleaning, but for your mind. So cleaning out everything, old stagnant energies, all of that. So spiritually, spring basically represents new beginnings, growth, transformation. And it's pretty fascinating how our ancestors kind of understood this connection. They recognized that humans are intrinsically linked to the seasonal rhythms, which when nature awakens, so do we. So we might start to feel a little bit more energetic once the weather gets a little nicer. The days get a little longer. We have more sunlight. We feel like a surge of energy, and you might be feeling a desire to start fresh. Maybe an urge to clear out physical clutter, but also mental clutter. And this alignment with spiritual energy, not getting too woo-woo, but I mean this alignment with nature is what I mean by spiritual energy, isn't just folk wisdom. It's reflected in our biology, our mood patterns, and even our natural inclination to just want to clean spaces out. Today, we're going to talk about this concept a little bit deeper. So instead of just cleaning out your closet, we're going to focus on decluttering and refreshing our minds. I'm going to share about 8 practical tips to help you harness this kind of seasonal energy and this motivation you have, because it's easier when you have a little bit of motivation or things are feeling a little bit nicer to kind of go into this area of your life. So we're going to kind of ride that wave of motivation. And so this is designed basically to help you clear out mental brain fog, release stagnant thought patterns, and just create space for new growth. So just like the spring season itself, that's kind of what it symbolizes. Whether you're feeling a little overwhelmed in life, stuck in maybe some patterns you picked up this winter, or simply you're just ready for a new fresh start, these tips are going to help you align with the natural energy of the season and help create some positive change in your life, which you heard in the intro. That's what this show is about. So I also want to mention I am dropping a meditation with this episode. It's under 10 minutes long, and it's called Spring Cleaning Meditation. So it'll be uploaded right after this episode. When you're done with it, it should be above it or below it, depending on what platform you listen to, but it should be next to this episode. If you can't find it, just type in literally Spring Cleaning Meditation, and it will come up, and it will help refresh you, and it's going to be similar to what we talk about in this podcast, under 10 minutes. So make sure to check that out. I'll remind you at the end of the show as well. But let's get going. Let's discover how we can use this transitional season to reset, refresh, and renew our minds. Let's dive into our first strategy. And the way I usually structure episodes, the first 1 or 2 strategies tend to be a bit longer, and then the last things I talk about are the quick points. So keep that in mind. The first one, I'm going to break it down because it's a little bit in depth, but I think it's probably the most important point. Hence why I made it number 1. So we get the idea of spring cleaning, when people literally declutter their homes or they just deep clean things. We regularly need to kind of clear out our mental space too, because our minds can basically become cluttered with limiting beliefs. Another way to phrase that are old narratives, fears, self-doubt. And sometimes we may not even realize we're carrying it. So that's why it's really cool to sometimes check in on ourselves, do a little audit, and then we can clear that out of our head. So think about it. How many of these mental patterns, or how many things that we're just carrying around with us day to day, are actually serving you? Oftentimes we're holding on to beliefs that came from other people's projections, even TV shows, childhood experiences or outdated fears. Maybe something happened to you in a friendship or a relationship, and you kind of keep that in your mind. And these act like mental cobwebs, if you want to think about it that way. They hold us back from stepping into new, clean, expansive space and the best version of ourselves, because we have all of this clutter in our minds. I actually have a guest coming up on next week's podcast. I won't mention it yet because it's really cool, but something that she was saying in her book, which we talk about, is the fact that our brain basically operates from the past. So past experiences create how we respond to things. And so when new things come up, sometimes we respond the exact same way as we did in the past, even if that's not what's exactly in front of us. Because sometimes our brain, that's just how it is. It responded to things in the past and it knows how to respond that way. So when something new comes up, we may feel those feelings of maybe like fear or nervousness or defensiveness or anger, whatever. Next week, little plug, we'll go more into that. So, but that's the idea of this. Sometimes we carry this stuff around with us. But the cool thing is neuroplasticity. We can always change our brain. We can always change how we are and act in life. And you're never really stuck, like ever. Even in the last episode we did, I think with Sophia and Carr, she said the same thing. Like, you are not stuck. Our brain is meant to like learn new things and become exposed. So that's the beautiful thing about it. So just kind of like clearing out like an overclouded closet, we're going to create some room and be able to like feel lighter, clearer. And when you're clearing things out like that, you make room for new opportunities, you know? And the first step, and like anything you hear, most books, even like Alcohol Anonymous, like a lot of these programs, the first thing they tell you to do is become aware and identify. Like meditation, the main goal is to become aware of your thoughts, you know? We can do this in a journal. We can do it in meditations. I have like a few practices we can go into too, but this is very similar to yin and yang, like the moon cycles, the idea of manifestation. Every concept you can basically find across the board in different spiritual teachings or psychology. It's the idea that we got to clear out the old to make room for the new, okay? And once we identify these things, it becomes a lot easier to take those forward steps. So that's what point number 1 is all about. I have 3 methods to help you kind of explore what is holding you back, because sometimes we don't even know. These are just like patterns that come up. This can be done really well when you're journaling. I feel like you can get a lot deeper. So if you want to save these, maybe put them in your notes. Spending 10 minutes this evening just like journaling these things out can really help you get to the root of them. But you can also work through it now as we talk through the episode. But just know I do personally recommend busting out a piece of paper and a pen to kind of help you with it. So all 3 of them, this is going to be the easiest one to do because you don't really have to do anything, okay? It doesn't really require any thought. All you need is a pen and a piece of paper. And it's called the morning pages, which I've spoken about before. This can help you just kind of brain dump everything that you're thinking about out in the open. You take 3 pages and you fill them up. You can set a timer if you'd like. Some people do the timer method, which is like you set a timer for like 5 minutes and you just write. But I personally think, based on the actual method, that this comes from the book The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And in the book, the reason you write 3 pages out is because it's just the perfect amount of space where you totally get everything that's in your head out. 1 page is too short. 2 pages isn't quite enough, but 3 pages, and it's true, because when you're doing it, sometimes I get to page 2 and I'm just like, oh my god, like what am I going to keep writing here? I'm like, what is this lady talking about? But you just free write. And I always start the same way. Like, I just start writing what's in my head, and trust me, eventually stuff will flow. Like, you will start writing. Even if you get to a point where you have to shift what you're writing about, you just write about what comes up next. The reason I'm bringing up the morning pages, like I said, I've bought them up before. This comes from a book that kind of can help you tap into your creative side. You can use it for so many things in life. But the reason that I'm using it in this section to kind of help you uncover your limiting beliefs or the thought patterns that come up and repeat themselves a lot. It's easy to find connections or repetitive thoughts or things that you keep writing all over and over again within these 3 pages. So you can do this exercise once if you'd like, but I'd also suggest maybe trying to do it for a few days and then going back over all of your journal entries, and you can just highlight. If you see every single day, oh my gosh, I'm writing about this, or I'm complaining about this every day, or why am I always talking about what I'm afraid of, you know? You'll start to notice these things. So my favorite part of the show, because I need to give you like real life examples, I'm like, damn, I really have to pull from my own journal and then like tell all you people on the internet what's in my journal. So here's an example for me. I notice a lot of the times when I'm doing the morning pages, I started doing this about 2 years ago. So in the beginning, I was always writing about what I had to do. Like, a lot of my brain dump was just talking about what I have to do, and then also like beating myself up over what I didn't do. So I'd go back and like read my pages, and always it was talking, because my brain sounds like a rat anyway. It's kind of all over the place where I'm like, well, I want to do this today, but I didn't do that. And then this happened, and then this happened, but I wish I really did this. I had more time for that. That speed that I just went into is literally how, if you read my journal, that's unfortunately how it sounds. But it's really nice that I'm able to get that on the page. It helps me think a lot clearer. But like I was saying, about a year or so ago, I noticed that like most of my thoughts were just like, I didn't get this done, you know? Other things I'd write about sometimes were like money. I was always talking about, oh, this opportunity will bring me more money, or I don't have enough money. Like, I was just writing about it. So I'm able to step back and see, okay, a lot of my thoughts, because the morning pages put your actual thoughts on paper so you can look at them, which is the coolest part, are a collection of repeated thoughts about how I don't have enough time, or I'm constantly feeling bad, I didn't get enough done, or money. And sometimes otherwise I was thinking about the future a lot, or I was talking about past experiences, and boom, those are like 4 things that I've been able to work on. So it's been really cool. I was able to write those things out. Notice that, okay, girl, every single day you're writing about these things. And I didn't even notice it. I feel like if I did the morning pages and didn't go back and kind of look at them, I'd be like, that would have passed very easily in my mind, and it wouldn't have been something I would have even paid attention to. But it's easy to see it when it's written on paper. And on top of it, it's easy to see it when you look at it for multiple days. So this is a really cool like self-audit you can do. You can also do this every couple months if you want to do it like maybe in the winter and the spring, and go back and see the differences in your writing. It's really cool. I have a log for the past 2 years, so I can see what I've been thinking every day for 2 years, which is really nice for like keeping track of personal progress. So that's the easiest thing I think you can do. I have 3 techniques. That's like the first one. You don't have to do anything. You can play music. You just journal it out, and then you can come back to it. You don't have to do it all at once. You can come back to it like next Friday and look at it and try to uncover some patterns. So that's my first technique, and it's just free writing. The second technique involves asking yourself questions, like legitimate questions. So you can always come back. You can like write down what time we're at in the podcast episode and come back to these questions, or you can write them down in your notes right now and do these later. This can help you kind of fish out specific things that might be on your mind. So the first question would be, and you can write this down on like the top of your page, what's something that feels heavy in your mind right now? And usually the problems you're facing or the current things you're trying to like think about for the future will come up. Another question you can ask are, what are some things that feel particularly challenging to you right now? Okay. And once you come up with some ideas, you can also just free write, coming up with ideas for those 2 questions. Each challenge that you identify, try to list out why it feels hard, because this is what's going to help you figure out the beliefs. Because yeah, we go through a lot of things and we can obviously write down, well, I have long hours at work, or I'm taking care of my kid. I have all these things, right? But you want to write down why it feels hard. Start to recognize what patterns are emerging, or what stories you're telling yourself, that's coming up from this activity. Then you can even dig a little bit deeper. Where did these stories come from? Were they passed down from family? Were they picked up from society? Were they absorbed from friends? Something I used to do, again, another example, is I used to take so many shifts. I had multiple jobs. I still have multiple jobs. I was like, wait, no, I haven't escaped that. I have multiple jobs. But right out of college, I'd say I would take so many shifts all the time, or I'd always like overextend myself at work. And sometimes the pattern still comes up. Even my last job, I found myself constantly like, oh, I'll take that. I'll do that. I'll take that. Because in my head, I learned when I was younger, both my parents, their 2 jobs, they would do a lot of like overtime hours. And I was always growing up with them working overtime or doing night shifts or whatever. And they'd come home and be excited talking about how they're doing overtime and making money. So I interpreted that as I have to do long hours, or I have to work super duper hard in terms of using my time to make money, which can be true in some cases. I'm not dismissing that. But in other ways, like some of my other jobs, I put more time in behind the scenes, and then I'm able to make a bigger profit, like work harder, nope, that's not it. Work smarter, not harder type thing. So that's an example of a pattern I had. I used to overextend myself, and I was always exhausted. And it's because I had this belief about money that I had to work like super long hours all the time and do overtime. And the less time I had off, the better, because that meant I was making more money, So that was a whole pattern. So that type of thing can come up once you ask yourself, like, noticing these patterns and then asking, where did they come from? Were they passed down from family? Did I pick them up from society, movies, media? Did my friends act like this? So that's what we're trying to do here in point number 1. We're trying to uncover these beliefs. And once you figure out the beliefs, whether you do it from the first activity or the second activity, you can ask yourself, does this belief serve you? Does it make you feel empowered and capable, or is it holding you back? Because that's what we're working on. We're trying to find out, what are these little cobwebs in our head that are holding us back? We're going to move away from journaling questions in just a moment. The last technique we have actually comes from the guy that invented Toyotas. Mr. Toyota himself, okay? The 5 whys method, like WHYS, whys, he came up with this method to help uncover like the root problem of things that were happening in the Toyota business, like when the people who he was working with, they had individual issues with each other, or there was a problem that they couldn't really get past. And he came up with this method called the 5 whys, and it's actually taught in business schools and engineering programs like all over the world. It's very popular. You can also use this method in another case, like if you have general problems in your life, in relationships, in business, or communication issues with anybody, it's very handy for that. It's also handy for uncovering why we're hung up on something or why we won't take action on something, aka our limiting beliefs, because a lot of the times we won't try new things or take action on certain things, like we put them off because we have these limiting beliefs. So here's the method. I'm going to break it down again. You can do this as a physical journaling activity, or you can like ask yourself these questions in the shower. But you basically ask yourself a question, and then you ask yourself why 5 times so that you get a deeper response each time, okay? You want to get a deeper answer to your question by the end of asking yourself why 5 times. So I'm going to go back to the example I used earlier of I was talking about how I'm constantly feeling bad I don't finish my to-do list, or I just like don't feel productive in that area. So you ask yourself a why question, and then after that you ask just the word why. So we want to rephrase the problem into a why question for the first line, which would be, why am I so mean to myself when I don't get my to-do list done? And the answer could be something like, because I have so many things I want to do and managing my time would help. I'm mad because I'm not managing my time. Then you ask again, why does that bother me? And then you can say, because if I manage my time, I can get all the things done that I have to do. And then you ask why? Well, because I feel the need to finish my to-do list. It makes me feel good and successful. Why? Well, because I value feeling good and successful, over a lot of other things. Why? Well, if I'm not productive, then I'm nothing. And that is probably your limiting belief, the last one. At the end of the day, it's not even the fact that managing my time or I'd feel good. It's this belief ingrained in my head that if I'm not productive, like if I'm not using every minute of the day, then I basically feel like any bad word you want to say. Because I don't know if I can say it on this podcast. I'm not sure. I don't think I can. Anyway, that is how you uncover limiting beliefs using the 5 whys method. I think it's a really good method. Like I said, you can also use it in other scenarios with why you're mad at somebody or why you can't get something done. Try it out. Those are really good methods. The reason that we're focusing on identifying, I want you to just identify some things. I have whole episodes on limiting beliefs. You type in limiting beliefs under the Happy Hippie podcast and you can find them and you can go way in depth into them. I've already spent a lot of time on this point, so I don't want to go too much into it. I just wanted to focus on identifying. There's basically like a powerful concept in psychology, in the psychology world, called name it to tame it. Simply recognizing something as a repetitive thought or a pattern can help you detach from it. It's similar to what we practice in meditation, noticing complaints or negativity, frustration, anger, without getting caught up in it, detaching yourself from that emotion or that idea. You're able to do it better once you bring it to your forefront. So check out the episodes on limiting beliefs if you want to dive deeper into it. But this can help you pull up what these beliefs are that you might have bought up over the past year, or they might have been hanging around for a little bit longer, Focus on disrupting these patterns, When you catch yourself in an old thought pattern, consciously, just like meditation, redirect that energy towards something that serves you better, your growth or your well-being. Almost like redirecting a reverse flow. It's going to take effort. It's going to take time. But over time, we can form new pathways because that's what neuroscience tells us, Like I said, check out those episodes on limiting beliefs. I tag all of my episodes too, so even if I mention limiting beliefs and you type that in, you should be able to find episodes that hit that topic. And I want to leave you with this point. A good affirmation that I like to keep with me is I act in opposition to my limiting beliefs. So sometimes I'll write that in my journal, and the more I write it, the more it stays with me, and I'm able to consciously make new decisions when I find myself coming up to these challenges. Okay, that was probably the longest point in the episode. Like I said, I wanted to be thorough with it, and I wanted to give you some really good journaling tips and things you can actually take away from this episode. The rest of the tips are a little bit shorter. So moving on to number 2, we're going to focus on the fact that it's nice outside, and we can go out, we can do more things. Clubs are starting up again. You may be more inclined to meet up with friends, whatever it is. when that happens, when nature's coming alive, maybe it's a good time to lessen our screen time. We can create more space in our minds by spending less time on our phones. Nobody wants to hear that, but I'm just explaining. And as we know, studies have shown us that extensive screen time can actually impact our mental health. It can increase anxiety and depression like feelings from social media exposure. It can disrupt our sleep. Blue light's not that great for us. Sometimes our attention and focus can go down when we're constantly on our phones. And it also makes us a little bit antisocial. So spring basically offers us a natural opportunity to break free from these digital chains. So with longer days, warmer weather, we have more options for offline activities, And as I discussed in my dopamine episode, our phones are designed to keep us hooked, through constant dopamine hits. And creating a little bit of distance from our devices can help reset our brain's reward system and find more satisfaction in natural, meaningful experiences. So check out that episode if you want to dive a little bit more into the science behind this. But we're going to focus on some practical tips that we can actually implement. So a cool thing you can try to do is set a phone-free zone in your house, either at your dining table or literally in your bed, which is the hardest thing. Try to keep the phone out of your bedroom when you can. Or you can do other things to help, in the morning, instead of waking up and going right on your phone, trying to have another activity set up for you, whether that's journaling, reading a book, getting up immediately, doing 5 minutes of stretches. You can make it funner than those examples too, but trying to replace doom scrolling in the morning with something else. You can also turn your phone on do not disturb once sunset comes to kind of help you stay off of it a little more. And you can even explore the idea of a tech-free day on the weekend that you schedule a lot of fun activities to do outside so that you're not constantly on your phone. Those are some ideas I came up with to kind of help with the spring theme. But we're not trying to totally, eliminate technology. It's still the best. I also love listening to music all the time, so I'm not saying don't turn on your phone ever. But just know that you can actively, progressively make a little bit of a healthier relationship with it. And you're not throwing everything away, coming back to those spring cleaning examples, but you're just organizing and kind of deciding what deserves more space in your life. So overall, creating a little bit more of mental space for your creativity, genuine connections, finding more appreciation for the world around you can happen if we lessen our screen time a little bit. Number 3 kind of has to do with the actual idea of spring cleaning, and it's reorganizing your space, trying to organize things a little differently or change it up. I always feel so much better when I create a new section of my room. Sometimes I'll randomly will build bookcases, or I'll move furniture around. You just literally feel better when you have a physical shift of your environment. One thing I really like to do, and I've been doing lately, is a thing called an opening shift. I spend about 15 minutes each morning. You know what? I'm not going to lie. It's not every day, but it's most days. 15 minutes each morning, I'll set a timer because I have ADHD. So if I don't set a timer, it will turn into 5 hours, okay? So I actually set an alarm because I got carried away. But you spend 15 minutes and you just do some tidying up, whether that's just organizing your dresser, if you're noticing sometimes it could be if your makeup brushes aren't washed, you're oh, let me do that real quick. I always make my bed. It could be putting away laundry, or not even doing laundry, but just organizing your laundry bin and bringing it where it has to go. Whatever you can do to kind of set your day up for 15 minutes. Maybe I'll wipe down some counters. It doesn't have to be a lot, It starts your day with an accomplishment, which sets up your dopamine system, so you'll literally feel good in the morning if you do it. And second, it kind of transforms your space gradually without being super overwhelming. Because whenever I have to clean and I look at I have to do a million things, I don't want to do it. But if I'm chipping away 10-15 minutes every morning, by the end of the week, my space is actually a lot cleaner and organized and just feels better. So here's some ideas you can try. You can try rearranging some furniture in your room. You can just do a little deep cleaning in some areas like ceiling fans, cabinets, things that you wouldn't do normally to kind of switch it up, You can open a window. Opening a window is a good idea too. And then maybe something I like to do is I like to create little zones in my house. So I have a yoga corner, and it's kind of a designated area where I can go, I can read, I can do yoga, I can do my whole thing. I have a whole section where I have a desk where I have art supplies. So that's my creative zone. So maybe setting up designated zones could be something a fun little project you can work on each day. But again, it's not about perfection. I'm not trying to tell you to tidy your space up, slob. That's not what the message is here. It's just about creating a little bit of environment each day, like just a little bit of time to help support your overall like well-being and your growth, So watch how these small changes really help. I've been loving the opening shift idea. Number 4, we're going to talk about nutrition. So like inner detoxing. Now, when I said the word detox, I'm not promoting like the idea of a restrictive diet or like a quick fix or just drinking juice. When I say the word detox, I mean like focusing on natural ways to support your body's detoxification process. We already have a detox system in our body, hopefully. If you have a liver, you're good. But think of it as a way of giving your like internal systems a little bit of a cleaning boost. I keep using all these cleaning acronyms. I really don't know. I'm going to run out of them soon. I feel like I'm using them all up. But just ways that we can kind of push things out of our body, because you can increase like your liquids and increase your consumption of certain food groups, and it can help flush things out of your body and you feel better. So that's what I mean by detox. Okay, so starting your day with water in general, or like lemon water, can help natural digestion and hydration. I'm gonna sound like such a stickler, but like whenever I drink anything that's not water, I use a straw. Like I have my own reusable straws, because I'm literally always afraid of like anything staining my teeth. So anytime I drink lemon water, since it's acidic, I always recommend drinking it with a straw, just for that reason. But moving on from that, any type of hydration in the morning can really help you out, whether it's tea. I like to have coconut water every morning. Lemon water. I sound so pretentious, but I'm just saying, drink some water in the morning. It can really help kind of like get you going for the day and flush you out, especially if maybe you didn't have a great night's sleep. It can help make your body feel a lot better. The next thing is introducing fiber-rich foods like chia seeds or fresh vegetables. It's gonna help you use the bathroom, which actually flushes things out of your body, so in a good way. Antioxidants are also something that's really good for the quote-unquote detoxification. They're found in every berry, so any type of berry. Blueberries, raw honey also has it. It can help fight free radicals, which, without giving you like a science lesson, they're like these types of molecules, right? And they have like electrons on them. And at the end of the day, they can damage cells. And they come from a whole bunch of stuff, And people say they contribute to aging and disease. But we can talk about that forever. Basically, antioxidants help combat them or fight them. And that's why you'll also see in a lot of like skincare brands, they'll advertise that, because people always like demonize free radicals. They can come from like UV and like, cigarettes and things like that. But we can get it from other ways, just literally, unfortunately, by living, because we have radiation from the sun. So everyone's always like, eat your antioxidants to like help with free radicals. But antioxidants are really good for you, and they do help with that, and they also just help you flush stuff out. So they can help support like quote unquote a detox. Chlorophyll, which you can get from spinach, wheatgrass, spirulina. You can also buy chlorophyll. You don't need to though. It's basically in everything that's green. Is another really great agent that you can use in your body to help you kind of feel quote unquote detoxed. And again, remember, the goal isn't to restrict. We're focusing on nourishing, adding these things in. They're beneficial foods, beneficial items that can help your diet, rather than, focusing on removing stuff. Your body has amazing natural detoxification systems. We're just supporting them with some wholesome nutrition. I want to also eventually I'm going to talk about herbs, but herbal teas are also really great. We're going to circle back to herbs. You can't escape. I'm kind of obsessed with them. But let's move on to number 5. I'm going to call this section adventures, okay? So I'm drawing inspiration again from the Artist Way book by Julia Cameron. It is a concept she calls the artist date, which it basically explores the idea of incorporating like weekly adventures into your week, trying something new. It can be on a scale of 1 to 10, and I've talked about this before, but it rejuvenates your spirit, basically trying something new by yourself. And it's a powerful tool in general, to discover things that you like, or just feel better, and since the weather is getting nicer and a lot more opportunities are opening up, this is a really great way to clear your mind and try something new. Our brains are naturally wired to respond to novelty, okay? So when we explore something new, we try something new, our hippocampus, which is like the brain's learning and memory system, it becomes activated, and it literally like releases dopamine, which is our feel-good neurotransmitter. And it's like a natural reward system, we feel more energized and creative and alive just by trying new things. It's like literally hacking your brain. So here are some ideas that you can maybe do for like an artist date. You can visit the botanical gardens or a flower market that you haven't been to before, since finally we have some color coming back to the earth. You can try a new walking route. It can be the same neighborhood you go in every day, but you just go in a different direction, And maybe try to do, there's some things I've seen on TikTok where they do like color walks, which is where you go on a walk and you try to just keep your focus and point out one color the entire time. Some people will do this by taking photos of everything they see of that color. So your color could be yellow, and every time you see something yellow on the walk, you take a picture of it, and then you go back and you look at how many pictures you got. You can also just do photography and try to take different pictures of pretty trees or nature or whatever you see, and then look at the end of the walk. That could be a fun way. So again, that's like free. That's easy to do, and you can walk anywhere, So that's a nice way where you don't have to like book a plane ticket and go somewhere. You can try going to a local art gallery or a new exposition at like your museum. There's a lot of apps and websites you can go to find out what's happening at different places in your neighborhood or around you. You can even just try a new cafe. You can spend time journaling or drawing, even watching a YouTube video like in a cafe, trying to switch up the space that you're in. You can try a creative workshop. So going to like a painting place, pottery, flower arranging, just trying something new. The key is approach these experiences with like a childlike curiosity, a little bit of wonder. Don't focus on being productive or the fact of like the purpose that you're going. Try to think of it as like pure exploration and joy. You're intentionally seeking out these new experiences, but we're not just breaking routine. We're kind of actively participating in just a little bit of fun, trying something new. Number 6, I kind of talked about it a second ago. Just get your butt outside. It's getting nicer out. So just trying to do things outside, whether you can bring your reading outside, drink your coffee outside in the morning, explore new things because it's nice out. It will positively affect you. I don't have much to say on it, but just get outside. That's number 6. Number 7 is prioritizing your rest, especially with daylight savings time. That really messed me up this year. Also in Hawaii, we didn't have daylight savings time. Like they don't do the clocks. So I was used to not doing it at all. So I feel like I lost like 40 years this time around. But basically it affects your natural rhythms, and it's very important to protect your sleep schedule. So research does show that adults need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And some studies actually indicate that women may need more sleep. They've had literal studies showing that we need at least 20 minutes more, but some studies show up to an hour more than 8 hours of sleep. So it's usually due also because we have more brain activity and there's a lot of hormonal stuff going on. So that's why we burn more energy during our days. So we need more sleep to recover. That's why. But if you're aiming to get a full 8 hours of sleep, try to get to bed 9 hours before you're supposed to wake up. This way you have time to wind down and actually fall asleep. Because I know like when I go to bed at let's say like 10 p.m., I'm actually not falling asleep till like 10:40. So to actually get 8 hours, see how you feel, try it out. Try to get into bed 9 hours before you want to get up. If you can try that out once, you will notice a difference, okay? This allows you to get some more time to naturally fall asleep. You can try managing a consistent bedtime for just a week. Notice your energy, your mood, even your productivity, the difference. If you're struggling with sleep, maybe consider aiming about an hour before you go to bed to set an alarm and do like a little wind down routine. I've talked about sleep before. I'll pin episodes if I can think of them, but I want to do a better episode where I really go into like bedtime routines. So stay tuned for that. But focusing your sleep is something that I think we should all be doing. And finally, number 8. I told you we were going to circle back a little bit with tea. Number 8 is to embrace seasonal foods and spring herbs because there's a lot of new things. And when things are in season, 1, they're fresh. They're going to taste better, be more potent, be better for you. And number 2, they're going to be cheaper. So it's a win-win because there's an abundance of them and the market is going to sell them for like a normal price. They're not going to jack up the price because there's no scarcity. So it really is a win-win, okay? Natural foods, nutrient-rich foods, they can naturally support our body, especially during the transition into a new season. And nature's great. It kind of brings exactly what you need when you need it. So we're going to talk about herbs first. There's a few herbs that are in season and that can also help you support this change, of going from like a slow, restful winter to kind of ramping it up just slowly into spring and summer. Nettle is the first one, like kettle, but with an N. Nettle, it's rich in iron and minerals. It's perfect for supporting energy levels and reducing seasonal allergies. So you can add it. They have it as a tea. A lot of teas also have nettle in it, but you can get nettle tea. And you can also add it to soups because it is an herb. So you can just add it to soups, dinner, you can put it on top of like chicken and things like that, and you'll be able to reap the benefits. So it's like making your food medicinal. It's kind of cool that we can do that, right? The next one is dandelion. And you'll see one of the earliest spring flowers to come out, even though some people say it's a weed, it's a flower. At the end of the day, it has a flower on it, so it's a flower. It's out right now. If you go out for a walk on the street, you will see new dandelions growing right now. They support natural detoxification, which is a point that we were talking about for your whole body, but also your liver. It's really intertwined with liver health, which is kind of cool. And the entire plant is edible from the root to the flower. They make teas from the leaves, the stems. They sell like dandelion greens in the supermarket that you can put into salads. You can boil them down, not boil, but like you can saute them down and put them into like dinners. I think the easiest way is to just drink a tea. It's like a very popular tea nowadays too, because the liver is intertwined with hormonal health. So if you suffer from any hormonal imbalances, anything like PCOS, or if you have acne, it is really good for that. It also just makes you feel better. So I definitely would recommend dandelion. Mint is also a really good one. It aids in digestion, soothing the stomach if you have any stomach upsets, just everyday digestion as well. It also provides a natural energy boost. So you can add mint to your water, which is really nice. You can have teas, you can add it to smoothies. I love mint in general. There's a reason we love mint gum and like mint, because it makes you feel refreshed. Think about when you brush your teeth. So adding mint to things. And then the last herb I want to highlight is lemon balm. It's a calming herb. It's known to reduce stress. Any type of like stress relieving gummies, they usually add lemon balm. Stress relieving teas, you can find it by itself, but it's always like in the mix. You'll find it. Like look at the back of packaging for anything that promotes like de-stressing. Lemon balm, she's in there. Also helps support your immune function, which is really nice because sometimes we do get sick in between winter and spring. Okay, let me brainstorm. Let's try to think of some other ways we can use herbs, because I told you like we can use them in water and soups. You can make pesto with herbs, which is kind of cool. You can use chives. You can put mint into pesto if you want to make some sort of sauce. Look up different ways that you can integrate herbs into it. That's a really fun way. I already mentioned you can saute like the greens of any herbs or vegetable like that and kind of get those qualities in a salad or a soup. I keep saying soup, but it's like easy too. You can brew your own tea blends using, like you can literally do a dandelion, nettle, and mint tea if you wanted to by buying all the different teas or like the loose teas as well. And I didn't mention it, but I just want to mention raw local honey is a really great thing to help support allergy relief because it's anti-inflammatory, it has antioxidants in it, and the pollen in your area is usually what is going to be, the bees, since it's local, the bees make pollen, honey, that whole, y'all know about honey, right? How that's made. It's using local pollen so that when flowers start to produce pollen, you'll already be ingesting a little bit of it daily when you're having, it's kind of like allergy shots, but in honey. When you're having raw honey, whether it's in your teas or whatever you're using it for. So you'll actually have a very slight immunity. Very slight. There's some studies on it. It's very interesting, but introducing raw local honey, I combine both words, into your teas or drinks every day can help you build up a slight immunity. So that's also a really cool tip. I think that's it for herbs. I'll give you guys a break on that. And lastly, I just did a post actually on seasonal produce, and I think I put like 16 recipes. So it's on my Instagram, Happy Holistic Hippie, if you want to check that out. But there are some spring vegetables in season. So asparagus is in season. It's high in folate. It's high in antioxidants. Peas and beans, like fava beans, peas, string beans, all those things. They are kind of protein rich for a vegetable, and they have tons of fiber in it. Spring onions in general help support your immune system. So you can cook. Spring onions are great. Like scallions, you can also, that's like a type of spring onion. Add them to your dishes because they can help with your immune function, which is really good. And what else? Artichokes are in season. They're also really good for your liver and digestion. And like I said, check out that other post. It's not just to plug it, but there's like 20 different fruits and vegetables on there that you can check out and recipes for each one. So I'll save your listening experience and I'll save my breath. Just check out that Instagram post to find out more about April, May seasonal produce. And I guess my last note is just think about it. Like, in general, we really do connect with nature's rhythms and allow our bodies to kind of sync up with the world around us when we eat fresh produce. When we eat what's in season, it's kind of like what our ancestors used to do. It's like an age-old practice, you know? And like I said, the stuff that comes out is kind of what we need. And again, like hundreds of years ago, people couldn't, like, you know, they couldn't grow a pineapple if they wanted to in the middle of winter. They ate what they could get around them. So our bodies are kind of made for that. And it's a cool way to kind of sync up with that in a way. Yeah, I think that's my last note on that. Okay, before we wrap up this episode all about spring, I have a few little exciting announcements to share with you all. The first one I'm actually so excited about. I'm thrilled. Okay, I have been working on creating like beautiful, artistically designed merchandise for the show because I want it to be something that you'll actually use, something that you'll resonate with, you know? I love creating art. And I have a little art shop, if you didn't know. I usually link it below in episodes. I make like tiny t-shirts and necklaces and digital art. But it hasn't been producing as much as I want it to. So as somebody who loves art, I really want to put my heart into designing pieces that are really wearable, like wearable art, rather than just like, you know, like your typical podcast merch, but just like a giant logo slapped across it. I want to make it pretty. I want to make it something that you will wear because it's cool looking. Maybe it'll have some like positive quotes or things that have to do with the show on it. Maybe like a tiny logo, but the focus is going to be something that you would resonate with, something that you'd want to reach for. But I need your help. That's why I want to bring this up, okay? I'm thinking that this collection will have stickers, because I love a good sticker, tote bags. But I'd love to hear what else you'd like to see, okay? So whether it's a t-shirt, hat, I don't know. Think about what you would wear or like what type of merch you want, and please let me know. I'm going to create a poll for this episode, at least on Spotify, so that you can vote and let me know what items appeal to you the most. If you're listening on another platform, you can always send me a direct message on Instagram. I'm so open to hearing what you guys have to say. So my Instagram is Happy Holistic Hippie. That's usually where you can reach me the most. Just let me know what you want out of this collection. If you have any ideas, I've been designing some stuff, but I want to hear from you, whether it's what you want to wear, what type of merchandise you want to see, or if you have an idea, that a quote or something that you really love, let me know. I'm aiming to launch this collection by the end of May, the latest, okay? So about a month, maybe 5 weeks or so, it should be out. So yeah, keep up the tabs on that. Follow me on Instagram for more updates on it. But that's not all. I have some other exciting projects that I have been in the works for doing. By summer, I'll be revealing like a really special offer that I've been developing. I've been trying to be quiet and not talk about it, okay? But that's the next thing. And then on top of that, I am kind of in the early stages of planning 2 retreats for next year. So I want to do one like locally, like in the US, and then maybe something like a weekend trip, and then something a little bit longer somewhere else, somewhere by the ocean. To stay updated on all of this, again, make sure you're following me on Instagram, Happy Holistic Hippie. My website is getting an entire refresh. I got like a whole bunch of projects going on. So when that is updated, I will keep you in the loop, and I'll have a newsletter that you can sign up to, and you'll be able to hear about the retreats, the online events, all those things, okay? I'll let you know as soon as that's ready. But for now, switching the focus, I would love to hear your thoughts on the upcoming merch launch, okay? What do you want to see? What would you actually use or want to use? Drop your suggestions down below in the poll or send me a message. Yeah. Oh, and don't forget, we have the accompanying meditation to this episode. It's called the Spring Cleaning Meditation. So check that out, okay? Thank you so much for joining me for this whole spring renewal episode. Remember, just as like nature renews itself each spring, we have the opportunity to refresh, reset, bloom, that whole thing into a whole new version of ourselves, okay? So keep that in mind. You're never stuck. You can always change. And until next time, keep growing, keep glowing.